New Zealand is not a country that many people know much about. They know it's beautiful. Next, New Zealand has never attacked America or anybody else. So no one feels hostile to us at all. All right? We can only be a friend. And I have to say that having a New Zealand accent, although I'm not sure that the listeners right now would consider I have much of a New Zealand accent remaining after more than 40 years in America, they still recognize it as a foreign accent. And I'm not averse to trying to pick up some of it again while I'm here in New Zealand, yes. It's a pleasant accent, and it gets the attention of the audience. But you've got to deliver quality very quickly. So that hasn't harmed at all. I think one of the strengths of New Zealand physiotherapists, and perhaps New Zealanders, is that we have been so isolated that when we got out of college, became a physiotherapist, we knew historically I should say, that we had two opportunities to go overseas in our lifetime. There were no jet planes back in the late 1950s and early 60s. So the two opportunities we had to go overseas was right then, on graduation, or within a year or two, save a few marbles, and then on our way. Or at the end of our life when we retired. I mean, all my aunties and uncles went home to England when they retired. That was their first time to go home. So we knew that. Well, if I lived in England and I graduated there, I think I would have gone down to St. Thomas's, taken Sir X's course, and been satisfied with that. But coming from New Zealand, spending 6 weeks on a ship to get there and another 6 weeks to get home, you're not going to take a 2-week program at St. Thomas's and leave it at that. You're going to try and stay longer at St. Thomas's, as I did, and actually dated one of the chief physiotherapists there and married her. My first wife for 12 years was a Syriac girl, as he called them. And of course, I went on to Paris and Norway and everything else. When I got back, I worked for a year with my dad and at the school. I was a lecturer there in spinal treatments. Incidentally, the school did not want me to be a lecturer. Enid Gotts, the director of the school, appointed me. She was a good friend of my father's, which probably helped, no doubt. But the faculty did not agree that I should be a teacher because I had not taken the then colonial, I will call it, teachers training system in England. I had, on my own initiative and with scholarship, and with Dad's financial support, I have to tell you, he gave me a lot of financial support, which I repaid. I'd studied my own way on manual manipulative therapy. But in those days, to be a teacher in New Zealand School of Physiotherapy in Dunedin, you had to go to England for a year or two and apprentice at other schools of physiotherapy and learn to teach the same stuff you learned in New Zealand. And you learned a few teaching skills. I'm sure there was an education course or two, but I don't know. But I didn't choose to go that route. So when I came back and was appointed a lecturer, the faculty were incensed. And I will tell you this for the record, that the first day I walked into the faculty lounge for a cup of tea at 10 a.m., every single one stood up and walked out, leaving their cups where they were. It had been planned. That was their protest. And so I never went in for tea or coffee thereafter. I was only at the hospital in the morning, treating patients or lecturing at the school. That climate really didn't change, and that was another reason why I thought I'd get my PhD and come home. However, the private practice community of New Zealand received me well. The word got out pretty quickly that I was doing quite well with spines. And so in Christchurch, it was Gordon Oldham who asked me to teach a seminar there. In fact, no, I'll go back. In Christchurch, it was a lady at the hospital, whose name I forget. She asked me to teach a weekend seminar. And I taught that weekend seminar. And Brian Mulligan and Rob McKenzie were there. Gordon Oldham had me teach a 2-week seminar in Christchurch. This is all just prior to my leaving. I taught another one in Wellington, and I'm not sure who organised that. And I taught another one in Hamilton, and the late John Meany organised that. So those were 3 2-week seminars I taught. At the Wellington one, Brian Mulligan was present, and so was Robin McKenzie. And they were stimulated by it. They'd already heard Hickling some years ago. They'd been doing a little bit of this work, and from my instruction and encouragement, they both, but particularly Robin, went over to England and Norway to visit Carltonborn, and I think perhaps Stoddard. But I mostly advocated they went to see Carltonborn. Soon thereafter, they brought Carltonborn to New Zealand. And Rob Mackenzie taught with Kaltenborn for a while, taught in New Zealand and taught in Australia until he found his own way of doing things, which is another story I'll leave to another time or leave to Mackenzie to tell. So that's how it kind of started here in New Zealand. And then I left the country, as you well know, and started teaching the same things in America, which led finally to the university we have now and to things like iPhone.